Hello, WiserReads family, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here because today we're cracking open a concept that could fundamentally change your life. Forget everything you thought you knew about money, work, and security. We're about to embark on a journey that will challenge the very foundations of how you earn a living and build a future. For most of us, the default path is simple. Get a good education, find a stable job, and climb the corporate ladder. We trade our precious time, energy, and expertise for a paycheck, hoping that one day we'll have enough to truly be free. But what if that path, the one we've been told is the safest, is actually the riskiest? What if your salary, the very thing you depend on, is holding you captive? This book, The Architecture of Infinite Wealth, isn't another get-rich-quick scheme. It's a manifesto for freedom, a blueprint for designing a life where your income isn't tied to your physical presence or a demanding boss. It's about understanding the profound difference between simply earning money and owning assets, systems that work tirelessly for you, generating income whether you're working, traveling, or spending time with the people you love. We're going to dismantle the income trap and show you how to build robust, resilient streams of revenue that pay you forever. Imagine a life where your financial security isn't a fragile house of cards, but a fortress built brick by brick from digital real estate, intellectual property, and cash-flowing ventures. Are you ready to stop trading time for money? Are you ready to reclaim your autonomy and build a legacy that transcends your own lifetime? Then lean in, because this journey begins now. If you're as excited as I am about designing a life of true financial freedom, please hit that like button, share this video, and most importantly, join the WiserReads family by subscribing to the channel. We're building something special here, and I truly want you to be a part of it. The income trap. Why your salary is the riskiest asset you own. The single point of failure. Most people view a steady paycheck as a safety net. In reality, it is a single point of failure system. If you rely solely on a salary, your entire financial life depends on one person, your boss, or one entity, your company, making a single decision. If you are fired, laid off, or become unable to work, your income drops to zero instantly. This is not security. It is a high-stakes gamble where you have no control over the odds. The time for money ceiling. The income trap is fueled by a linear relationship between hours worked and dollars earned. Because time is a finite resource, your earning potential is mathematically capped. Even if you earn $500 an hour, you cannot work more than 24 hours a day. True wealth is built on non-linear returns, where your income is decoupled from your physical labor. The illusion of stability. While a business owner or investor faces daily volatility, they possess multiple streams of income and the skills to pivot. The employee, shielded by the stability of a monthly check, often fails to develop the wealth muscles required to survive in a changing economy. When the paycheck stops, they find themselves without the assets or the systems to replace it. Key takeaway. To escape the trap, you must stop viewing your job as your destination and start viewing it as a venture capital firm for your life. Use your salary to fund the purchase of assets that do not require your presence to grow.
The physics of assets. Understanding the difference between wealth and displays of richness. In Chapter 2, The Physics of Assets, we explore the fundamental laws of financial energy. If you want to build wealth that lasts, you must understand the physics of how money moves, specifically the difference between things that drain your power and things that amplify it. Assets versus liabilities, the direction of flow. The physics here is simple. Wealth is determined by the direction of cash flow. Assets act like engines. They exert a force that pushes money into your pocket. Example, rental income or dividends or automated business profits. Liabilities act like friction. They create a drag that pulls money out of your pocket. Example, car payments, high-interest debt, or the upkeep of a primary residence. The rich versus the wealthy. Richness is often a high-velocity flow of money, a big salary spent on big toys. It's visible, flashy, and temporary. If the flow stops, the richness vanishes. Wealth is a stock of assets. It is often invisible. A wealthy person might drive an older car but own the company that manufactures the parts. Wealth is measured in time. If you stopped working today, how many days could you survive at your current standard of living? The physics of depreciation. Most of the displays of richness are subject to the law of depreciation. They lose value the moment you own them. True assets, however, are designed to appreciate or produce a yield that outpaces inflation. To build an asset base that pays you forever, you must stop buying things that look like money and start buying things that act like money.
The time-freedom equation. Decoupling labor from capital gains. In Chapter 3, we address the most significant hurdle to true wealth, the linear trap. For the average professional, income is a result of input, time, times rate, skills, equals output, money. The physics of this equation are unforgiving. Because time is your only finite resource, your wealth is mathematically capped by your physical exhaustion. The decoupling principle. To achieve time freedom, you must move from linear income to asymmetric returns. This is the process of decoupling your labor from your capital gains. In a decoupled system, the work is done once, front-loaded effort, but the reward is harvested indefinitely. The 3 levers of leverage. The book identifies 3 primary ways to break the link between hours and dollars. Capital leverage, using money to make money. This is the cleanest form of leverage because capital doesn't sleep, get sick, or ask for a raise. Labor leverage, managing people to scale your output. While effective, this is the most high-friction form of leverage due to human variables. Code and media, the permissionless leverage. This is the core of the modern economy. Writing a book, recording a course, or building software. You create it once, and it works for you 24/7 globally without marginal cost. Key takeaway. The time-freedom equation, wealth equals assets times leverage, proves that you don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by owning things that work harder than you do. Your goal is to transition from being the engine of your financial life to being the architect of it.
Digital real estate. Building scalable systems in the modern economy. In Chapter 4, Digital Real Estate, we transition from theory to the modern frontier of asset building. Just as physical real estate was the bedrock of wealth in the 20th century, digital assets have become the most accessible and scalable wealth generators of the 21st. The low-rent, high-yield model. Traditional real estate requires massive capital, property taxes, and physical maintenance. Digital real estate, which includes domain names, YouTube channels, SaaS platforms, and niche content sites, operates on a fraction of the overhead. The rent is the cost of hosting and a few subscriptions. The yield is the global attention and automated sales these platforms generate. The power of zero marginal cost. The physics of digital assets is defined by zero marginal cost of reproduction. Once you build a digital product, be it an ebook, a plugin, or a video course, selling it to the 10,000th customer costs you exactly the same as selling it to the first. This allows for infinite scalability. Unlike a physical store, your digital storefront never closes, never runs out of stock, and can serve a customer in Tokyo and New York simultaneously. Building traffic moats. The value of digital real estate isn't just in the product, but in the audience attention. By building a system that consistently attracts traffic through SEO, social media, or email lists, you create a moat around your business. This consistent flow of eyes is an asset you can monetize repeatedly through ads, affiliates, or your own products.
The compound engine, utilizing reinvestment to fuel exponential growth. In Chapter 5, The Compound Engine, we move from the creation of income to the acceleration of wealth. If your assets are the seeds, compounding is the process of refusing to eat your harvest so you can plant an entire forest. The snowball effect. The engine relies on a simple but disciplined cycle: invest, earn, reinvest. Most people stall their wealth building by inflating their lifestyle the moment an asset produces a profit. The compound engine requires you to keep the surplus within the system. By reinvesting dividends, royalties, or digital ad revenue back into the acquisition of more assets, you create a feedback loop where the growth becomes vertical rather than linear. The Rule of 72 and Time Horizons. The book introduces the physics of time through the Rule of 72, a quick formula to estimate how long it takes for an investment to double. 72 divided by annual rate of return equals years to double. The engine's true power isn't found in the first 5 years, but in the 10th and 20th. The goal is to reach the crossover point, the moment when the yield from your compound engine exceeds your monthly cost of living. The cost of interruption. The greatest enemy of the compound engine is unnecessary interruption, whether through emotional selling during a market dip or skimming the top to buy a luxury item. Every withdrawal resets the clock. To build an asset that pays you forever, you must treat the principal as sacred and untouchable.
Intellectual property, turning ideas into permanent royalty streams. In Chapter 6, Intellectual Property, we explore the ultimate form of leverage, the power of the mind. Unlike physical assets that can wear out or digital platforms that may change their algorithms, intellectual property, IP, is a legally protected claim on an idea. It allows you to rent out your brain to the world indefinitely. The royalty model. The magic of IP, be it a book, a patent, a trademark, or a proprietary process, is that it converts a one-time creative act into a perpetual royalty stream. When you own a piece of IP, you aren't selling a product, you are selling a license to use your creation. This is the business model of the world's wealthiest creators and corporations, from Disney to pharmaceutical giants. The 3 pillars of IP assets. Copyrights, protecting your creative expressions, books, music, software, videos. Trademarks, protecting your brand identity and the trust you've built in the marketplace. Patents or trade secrets, protecting your unique how-to or formula that solves a specific problem better than anyone else. Scalability without overhead. IP is the purest form of building once and selling forever. There is no inventory to manage, no shipping costs, and no limit to how many times a license can be granted. In the modern economy, content is often the gateway to IP. A successful YouTube series or a unique methodology can be packaged into courses, books, and consulting frameworks, creating a multi-layered ecosystem of income.
Cash-flowing hard assets, the power of real estate and commodities. In Chapter 7, Cash-Flowing Hard Assets, we anchor our portfolio in the physical world. While digital and intellectual assets offer high scalability, hard assets, like real estate and commodities, provide the intrinsic stability and inflation protection necessary for wealth that lasts generations. Real estate, the yield machine.
Real estate is the ultimate multi-generational asset. Its power lies in its utility. People will always need a place to live, work, and shop. Leverage. It is one of the few assets where banks will lend you 80% of the purchase price, allowing you to control a large asset with a small amount of capital. Cash flow. Through rental income, the asset pays for its own debt, taxes, and maintenance, leaving a surplus that acts as your perpetual paycheck. Commodities, the global hedge. Commodities such as energy, oil, gas, precious metals like gold and silver, and agriculture are the building blocks of civilization. The inflation hedge. Unlike currency, which can be printed, commodities have a finite supply. When the value of money drops, the price of stuff rises. Income through infrastructure. While raw gold doesn't pay dividends, you can generate cash flow by owning the means of production, such as timberland that pays for harvests or energy pipelines that collect tolls on every gallon moved. The hard asset advantage. The primary benefit of hard assets is their low correlation with the stock market. When paper assets, like stocks and bonds, are volatile, physical assets tend to hold their value because they possess true value derived from their physical properties.
The invisible employee, automating your business operations. In Chapter 8, The Invisible Employee, we address the transition from being a business operator to a business owner. Most people accidentally build themselves a high-paying job rather than a true asset. To build wealth that pays you forever, you must replace your physical labor with systems, software, and standardized procedures. The 3 pillars of automation. Software and AI, the digital labor. Modern tools act as employees that never sleep. From CRM systems that manage customer relationships to AI-driven content scheduling and automated sales funnels, software handles the repetitive, low-value tasks that consume your time. Standard operating procedures, or SOPs. An SOP is a manual that allows a task to be completed to a specific standard without your input. By documenting every how-to in your business, you transform your tribal knowledge into a tangible asset that can be handed to anyone. The who, not the how. Instead of asking, "How do I do this?" the asset builder asks, "Who can do this for me?" This involves hiring specialized virtual assistants or contractors to manage the SOPs you've created. The unplug test. The book introduces the 30-day unplug test. If you can step away from your business for 30 days and it not only survives but grows, you own an asset. If it withers or breaks, you simply own a job. Automation is the process of removing yourself as the bottleneck of the operation.
Risk mitigation, protecting your portfolio from inflation and market volatility. In Chapter 9, Risk Mitigation, we move from the offensive strategy of building assets to the defensive strategy of keeping them. In a world of fluctuating interest rates, geopolitical instability, and devaluing currencies, your greatest threat isn't a lack of profit, it's the erosion of purchasing power. The 2 silent wealth killers. Inflation. This is the invisible tax. If your assets yield 5%, but inflation is 7%, you are mathematically becoming poorer while feeling richer in nominal terms. Market volatility. This is the emotional shakeout. Most investors fail because they are forced to sell their assets at the bottom of a cycle to cover living expenses. The anti-fragile strategy. To combat these, the book introduces the barbell strategy. This involves keeping a portion of your wealth in extremely safe, liquid, dry powder, cash or short-term bonds, while the rest is in high-growth, high-yield assets, digital real estate, and IP. This ensures you never become a forced seller during a crash.
The power of diversification, the right way. True diversification isn't just owning different stocks, it's owning different asset classes that react differently to economic weather. Inflationary periods, hard assets, real estate, and commodities thrive. Deflationary periods, cash and high-quality debt thrive. Technological booms, intellectual property, and digital assets thrive. Key takeaway. Risk mitigation is about ensuring permanence. By building an all-weather portfolio, you stop worrying about the market and start focusing on the long-term yield. You don't need to predict the future if you are prepared for any version of it.
The psychology of holding, maintaining discipline during market cycles. In Chapter 10, The Psychology of Holding, we address the most difficult variable in the wealth equation, the human mind. Even the most perfectly designed asset base will fail if the owner lacks the emotional fortitude to let the systems work. The behavioral gap. There is a massive difference between investment returns and investor returns. While an asset might grow at an average of 10% annually over a decade, the average investor often earns far less because they buy the hype at the top and sell the fear at the bottom. This is the behavioral gap, the cost of letting emotions override math. The boredom advantage. Building assets that pay you forever is fundamentally a boring process. Once the systems are automated and the compound engine is running, your primary job is to do nothing. The book argues that active management is often just a mask for anxiety. True wealth builders develop a high threshold for boredom, resisting the urge to tinker with a system that isn't broken. Surviving the valley of disappointment. Every asset class goes through cycles of expansion and contraction. During a bear market or a digital winter, your conviction will be tested. Zoom out. Market volatility is the price of admission for long-term gains. Separating price from value. Price is what you pay, value is what the asset produces. If the cash flow remains steady, the daily price fluctuations of the asset are irrelevant. Key takeaway. The psychology of holding is about mastering time preference. By shifting your focus from daily price movements to decades of yield, you transform from a frantic speculator into a disciplined sovereign. Your greatest asset isn't your portfolio, it's your temperament.
Tax-efficient wealth. Strategies to keep what you earn. In Chapter 11, Tax-efficient wealth, we focus on the single largest expense any wealth builder faces, taxes. While most people focus on gross income, the sovereign investor focuses on net after-tax wealth. To build an asset that pays you forever, you must understand that it's not about how much you make, but how much you keep. The tax hierarchy. The tax code is essentially a series of incentives. The government taxes earned income, salaries, at the highest rates because it requires no specific societal risk. However, it provides significant breaks for passive and investment income because asset owners provide housing, jobs, and infrastructure. The corporation as a shield. By shifting from an individual to a corporate structure, you can deduct expenses, software, travel, and equipment before paying taxes, whereas employees pay taxes before their expenses. Depreciation and tax-free growth. Hard assets like real estate offer phantom losses through depreciation. Even if a property is putting $1,000 in your pocket every month, the tax code may allow you to claim a loss on paper due to the wear and tear of the building, effectively making that income tax-free. Additionally, utilizing vehicles like the 1031 exchange in the U.S. or similar international tax deferral structures allows you to sell an asset and reinvest the total gain into a larger one without losing 20 to 30% to capital gains tax.
location independence and residency. In the digital age, your physical location is a variable. The book explores tax residency and how moving your tax home to jurisdictions with favorable rates for capital gains or foreign-sourced income can accelerate your compounding engine by years. Key takeaway: tax efficiency is not about evasion, it is about strategic alignment with the law. By structuring your assets correctly, you ensure that more of your financial energy stays within your compound engine rather than being siphoned off.
The multi-generational blueprint, building for beyond your lifetime. In the final chapter, The Multi-Generational Blueprint, we shift from personal success to the creation of a dynastic legacy. True wealth isn't measured by what you can spend in your lifetime, but by the systems you leave behind that continue to function without your presence. The family office mindset. To build for the long term, you must stop thinking like an individual and start thinking like an institution. This involves creating a legal fortress, using trusts, foundations, and holding companies to ensure that assets are not liquidated upon your passing. These structures protect the golden goose, the principal, from being carved up by inheritance taxes or spendthrift heirs, ensuring only the golden eggs, the yield, are distributed. The education of heirs. The greatest risk to a multi-generational asset is not a market crash, but a shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations phenomenon. This happens when the wealth outlasts the wisdom of the family. The blueprint emphasizes human capital over financial capital. You must document your investment philosophy and SOPs so that your successors understand how the wealth was built, not just how to spend it. Building for the century. A multi-generational strategy prioritizes durability over speed. It favors evergreen assets, land, intellectual property with timeless appeal, and shares in companies that solve fundamental human needs. You are no longer just an investor, you are a steward of a financial ecosystem designed to provide security for people who haven't even been born yet. Key takeaway. Building an asset that pays you forever means building something that survives you. By moving from me to we, you ensure that your work becomes a permanent foundation for your descendants' freedom. If you've stayed with me through all 12 chapters of how to build assets that pay you forever, you've done more than just listen to a book summary. You've begun the process of recoding your financial DNA. The core message we've uncovered today is simple yet profound. Financial freedom isn't the target number in a bank account, it's a design for your life. Throughout this journey, we've dismantled the fragility of the income trap and replaced it with the indestructible power of the compound engine. We've explored how to turn your unique ideas into intellectual property, how to anchor your wealth in hard assets, and how to use the invisible employee of automation to buy back your most precious resource, time. Listening to this book is an act of rebellion against the status quo that demands you trade your life for a paycheck. It's a commitment to becoming the architect of your own destiny rather than just another brick in someone else's wall. You now have the blueprint to build a legacy that doesn't just support you, but provides a foundation for generations to come. I know that the road to independence can feel lonely and overwhelming, but I want you to know that you don't have to walk it alone. I started WiserReads because I believe we are all stronger when we learn, grow, and build together. If this summary sparked a light in you, please join our family by hitting that subscribe button. Your support is what keeps this library of wisdom growing. Hit the like button if you're ready to build your first forever asset, and let me know in the comments which chapter changed your perspective the most. Until next time, keep reading, keep building, and stay wise.